Carl and Brendan here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's reaction time, taking a look at some videos and music that's been released over the past couple of weeks and just listening and then talking a lot about it. It is Cattle Decapitation, of course, have a brand new album out, which seems to be, everyone seems to be loving, Terrorsight, but you in particular, well,
Yeah,
you're
since
already a
weekend.
fan of this band beforehand as well. It's not like it was
Yeah,
any secret that Death Atlas hadn't turned you into a big fan of theirs.
nah, but not so much, I guess, of a fan that I knew for 100% certainty going into it that I would love it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the truth. I hoped I would because, hey, found a band you like. You know what I mean? You're really on board with it. And that's kind of cool. I agree with you. I've seen I haven't seen a negative thing said about it. I've seen a lot of positives and a lot of people kind of putting it down as their early doors yet, but album of the year and all that.
Mm.
I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a wonderful evolution from Death Atlas without going too crazy with the evolution, because I think that's the one thing I've found most interesting with Cattle Decapitation, which is that they are an extreme band, but they do things that mostly, like often the extreme fans scoff at and go, "Oh, you can't do that to our genre."
Yeah.
But Cattle Decap seem to do it in a way that they don't offend many, like kind of the gatekeepers and that. I don't know how they manage to do stuff and people still be like, oh, it's all right for them.
It's too. Is it because it's just too good, and that you'd
Yeah,
be
maybe.
being pedantic and you'd be look like a bit of an idiot if you were like, oh, And
Yeah,
everyone, I find nowadays more and more people are kind of trying to be like, oh, prove they're open minded. So there's less of
that's
that
definitely true as
extreme
well. Yeah,
gatekeeping.
I mean, look, like we both have listened to quite a bit of Cattle Decapitation of recent times. You've done some track by tracks,
Yep.
that sort of stuff, right? I think the thing that I'm more than happy and open to admit is actually, if it wasn't for these evolutions, I don't think I'd be that much of a fan, because it's the evolutions, the epic, those weird cleans, that sort of stuff, that anthemic almost part of it that really kind of sold me on them.
Yep.
So I want more of that.
Yeah, of
That's what I'm
course.
hoping for. I'm hoping to see them play around with that a bit more and that sort of stuff. Like, and actually, it would have been more likely that if this had come out and they'd done oh, we just want to go back to our roots when we were 16 in a basement, and it's just going to be like 12
Mm.
3-minute blast tracks with nothing like that in it at all, that I wouldn't have enjoyed it. That's not what I'm looking for. So I find that this album, like I said, is a wonderful evolution from Death Atlas. It has lots of that stuff, some slightly different ways of doing it. So, like, not standing still, some new tones in use, not just heavy either. I'm talking about more cleans, spoken word, a 10-minute closing track,
Mm.
with orchestras, strings, and everything. And I'm like, only again, within this genre, probably the only band who could get away with doing a 10-minute with orchestras track and still have the world of grind go. No, Cat of the Capital.
Yes, you might be wondering, folks, then, like, well, why are we doing this? If you know this song so well, why are you even bothering to do it? Well, here's the thing: is as of the time recording, I still haven't listened to this album, and there's no big reason. It's this: I just keep forgetting about it because of like scheduling and stuff like that. If I don't add something personally myself, I often just go, I completely forget that exists. And then I'm reminded of it like now, and I'm like, oh yeah, I must add this to my music player, and that way I won't forget about it. Next time I'm driving, I can put it on at least in that fashion. If I,
Yeah,
so I'm going to do that
and that's
after this. So I haven't actually heard the song.
I
that.
didn't catch that.
Oh, hang on, Alexa's talking to me.
Say that
Shut up, you prick. Sorry. um, Alexa decided to have a conversation with me about Cattle Decapitation.
She knows.
Yeah, she just wanted to point out the Terrorsight was a banging album.
Why this track then?
This is my current favorite track on the album, but I also
Okay.
think it's a really, really good representative of where Cattle Decapitation are today. There's been like 3 singles out, or like 2 pre-release and 1 since, with a video which is called Aphotic Doom, which I guess are the natural ones to go to.
Mm.
But when I listen to the album overall, and I do think this will change, because I am in that mode with it at the moment where I'm like listening to it almost every day, end to end, and I'm like picking different. Oh shit, I didn't even notice that before. I listened to that track again now, and that's become my favorite. But when I look at where they are as a band today, I think this song on this album encapsulates where they are, like in terms of the heaviness, the stuff you're going to get, right? There's some stuff in this you know you're going to hear. You're going to hear a lot of drumming, blasts and gutturals and everything like that. But I also think this encapsulates that evolutionary stuff too, where we see those epic anthemic bits that we like, but also done slightly differently. So I just think this is a good marker. And the reason I want to play it, even though I've heard it so much, is because I know you haven't. And part of why we do this is to share the love of music. That's
of course.
I love this album. I want you to hear it so that you can also wax lyrical about it. And then we can sit there and tell the world how wonderful this album is.
Isn't it going to be intriguing now if I just think this is okay? Yeah. I expect to like it, but will I love it?
Yeah.
All right.
You should do.
Well, let's find out. 3, 2, 1, go. Straight in with the blasts.
Genuinely judging, a creature completely critiquing, a sucker sucking by terrorist inherently desolating. This is what we do, and this is what humans are. Insignificant imbeciles, attracted to see the stars.
Boom.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you kind of have to approach this from like two angles. Really, it can be like the from the break it apart technical side of things, where you're identifying X amount of riffs and it's a very riff heavy track. You're noticing vocal contrast, obviously vocal styles. There's three different versions in that, three different ways of being singing and so on. The obviously meaty drum beat that's consistent throughout the majority of it, faster bits here and there, tempo tone shifts or several times throughout, particularly the front one being the first notably cool moment of it. There's a lot going on. That's the thing. It's almost a study, notepad and paper, and listen to it several times over and find new things each time. Particularly, obviously, then the tone switch for the outro of the song is obviously very melodic, more melodic, should I say, not very melodic, more melodic, and grand as well. Obviously, a bit more larger, less death metal, or more just grander and so on. And
it's almost like just them now, isn't it? It's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is they're doing, but it's almost becoming synonymous with it's that thing that Cattle Decapitation do.
Yeah, it's not even that as well. It's like it makes it hard to unpack. It makes it hard for me to think and talk about it like in an individual moment like this, because I'm kind of like, okay, I liked it a lot. I thought it was a very I love that because I love how well structured it is. I love how well put together it is. I love how professional. All the stuff that as a reviewer I'm supposed to look at and go, okay, well, this is obviously way ahead of its thing. And it's like, okay, yeah. But what about just me? What about the me that goes, okay, well, on a heavy headbanging kind of thing where you just want to listen to good heavy metal, how did that make you feel and so on? And that doesn't quite so much work as well with the reviewer's head. I can look at this and I'd say that was a masterpiece from a reviewer's head because of how well struck. I would find things very difficult to fault there. At best I could turn around and say to people, well, look, if you don't really like death metal, you might not like a lot of this. That's it. But that's sort of generic for anything. So I end up having to go to my sort of more passionate thing. Okay, and go, right, I am not as big of a fan of Cattle Decapitation as you are. That is a fact, right? It's simple as that. So what you might find from these tracks, I don't know if I necessarily will. I think this is an excellent song. I think it will be probably better, maybe better live, because I feel like that grandness at the end.
I think it's also better in the context of the album because this is a middle song and and obviously it's a concept album. And you can kind of feel like as that song ends, that's a chapter of the story and what's going to come next,
I did get the impression that ending was like that would flow into something else and so on. And obviously it begins quite abruptly as well, but that's hard to buy. You listen to songs individually nonetheless, regardless of that. So you're a judgment that, But it's one of those where it's like, this is a really, really strong song. This is a really strong song from a band that's pretty much, and for the past couple of releases, doing no wrong in regards to like the world of metal, death metal. And adapting and evolving as time goes by without too much. It felt familiar as well, like in the sense that, what we were talking about at the start with Death Atlas and stuff like that. There is that familiar feel to it, but it's the professionalism. I think it's really notable that they're just sounding tighter. Like there's nothing like this is heavy and this is gross and it's garish and eat gun and it'll do all that kind of things, but it's not raw, it's not messy. This is well produced, it's thought out. It clearly know exactly what they're doing, what they're going for, and what they're aiming for. That's just how can I not enjoy that? I think like identify like my favorite parts. I really like the vocal contrast. I really, really do. That's a really strong thing because I think, one tone, it would still be, because it's like, oh, well, which, like the deep kind of gutter ones, it's really strong. But then you have those higher pitched sort of screaming, yelping almost ones as well, to this sort of cleaner sort of part that fits the melody as well. It all works perfectly. I'm struggling to kind of link all this together. And I think that's coming from the fact this is a one-time listen. This needs more listens for me to fully appreciate.
I think one of the things with not just this track, but a lot of tracks on the album is that, like, and I find this with me being a fan of this band, is that sometimes when I listen to a song by theirs, I can really enjoy it, but I'm hoping for one of those big moments. If I don't, like, when I listen to this album the first time around, I'm listening to, like, say, even this song, and I'm like, yeah, it's really enjoying it. It's like, oh, I wonder if they're gonna, am I gonna get one of those moments, those epic moments? You're almost listening to that. When you now listen to this song knowing that's coming, it actually weirdly even more so improves even the first half because you're listening to it awaiting the payoff, and it sort of synchronizes more. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what's coming, and it's the building and building of it, and then it comes. When you listen to that end section in headphones, which, you know, we listen to a lot of our music in headphones, to be honest, but you can pick out more how well layered that ending is, because I didn't, weirdly, in this headset listening to it there, I still loved it, but when you listen to it on headphones, that last section, there's about, each line is being repeated then, so it keeps building and building until the last time he does this, you know, it's almost like there's 6 voices going at the same time, but like a word or two behind each other, and like kind of building up like layers and layers and layers, which I thought was kind of cool as well. But I do think like having that awareness of what's coming at the end of a track, if you really love the ending, makes the journey towards that ending almost better, in a way. But having said that, look, I obviously like the album. I obviously like the song. That's why I wanted to play it. Yeah, for me, like this is what I love about this band, is like I agree that it's small evolutionary steps rather than a massive evolution.
This is no giant leap. This is a step. Yeah.
Little moments, like whether it's production quality, whether it's I don't think there's an awful lot in the front half of it where you go like, oh, that's madly different. But there are little moments where I felt like this isn't really stuff I'm massively familiar with from them. Like, you know, there's a bit where the drums kind of kick into quite a groovy beat, and you've got a lead kind of guitar melody behind it, you know, down, sort of going in the background. That bit at the beginning of that switch up, when it suddenly changes into that down, dun, 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 the very first lines he says in that, he does completely clean. We had no effects, no gutturals, no nothing. He just says, "We have always been the same." You know, there's something inside us, or we've always been a virus. I think it's what he says.
Right.
You know, but he does it completely clean. Then the next time it's said, the clean line is still said, but now there's a guttural line saying it above the top. Then the clean and the guttural, and a different guttural says it, and then another one comes in and starts doing the shout, the word at the end of it, virus. You know, so now you've got like all of them kind of going on a loop, and it feels more epic there than it did in the YouTube video, weirdly enough. But I don't know if that's just the quality of my headphones, because it's not headphones, it's a headset for like
for teams and stuff like that. I feel like it needs more time. I just feel like it needs a lot more time for me to sit with it. You know, I've got nothing to criticize. I'm just not entirely sure. Like I'm 100% getting the like I see in terms of masterpiece thrown around, and maybe they're talking about the album overall rather than this song. Like I'm like, that's an excellent song. It's a very enjoyable, heavy blast beat drums, many impressive riffs, melodies and stuff like that, and beautifully structured, so it flows in an incredible way that you don't feel the length either. But masterpiece like that to me is like, okay,
I mean, it's probably going to be being thrown around more for the album than anything else. Because to me, that song's a masterpiece. But then last week it was a different song was a masterpiece. But I think the whole album's a masterpiece. I do think it's difficult to pull a track out of a concept that is an end-to-end story. You can kind of get away with it a little bit with something like Cattle Decapitation, because I guess you're not really following the lyrics like so much, are you? You know, like none of us are. So it's not like you go, oh, what's he talking about? Like, you know what I mean? But it's more about how the song starts. Like, you know, you went, oh, that goes straight in there. And then how it ends is like, oh, okay. You know, so you're pulling like I don't know, like it's like pulling like a chapter out of a book and saying, read that. And you might go, oh, well, that's really good, but I don't understand I don't get the whole feeling.
This has been a difficult one for me. Normally I'm better at being able to verbalize what I feel, but damn it, Cattle Decapitation, you've left me feeling confused and conflicted now, particularly with all that build as well from Brennan's perspective. You know, I don't know. I guess I said it. We'll have to do a more recent track by track. Maybe the best way for me to experience and to be able to talk this album through fully is to do a track by track for this album. You know, maybe that's the best way.
Works for me.
Of course. But that is the Insignifcants by Cattle Decapitation. What do you think? Are you a little like me? You're not entirely sure, but you are intrigued and did enjoy it? Or are you like Brendan and do you see this as part of a masterpiece album? One piece of the gigantic puzzle. You know what to do. Let us know in the comments.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?